I fuck up the mood. They feel it, I kill it, I'm really just spilling the juice out of my shoe. But fuck with the fame, the gunning is something I do. I don't need a crew. It's all on my own and I got
So like we were talking about how the other day, when they were having the 10 commandment flaws.
Oh yeah, because
so what's
Shiva chose to just stick on the murder one. Well, my feeling is that the biggest flaw is that
murder one first off.
Well, no, yeah, that's the point, that you shall not murder, commit adultery, steal, or lie are solid moral statements, right?
Okay.
All the rest of them, if I'm not a part of your religion, have almost no meaning, and some of them have situational ethic that it can be completely opposite to it. So, like, what kind of moral statement is you shall have no other gods if there's only one God?
Yeah, so that thou shalt not have no other gods before me. So that's describing your relationship to God, right? You don't honor things the way you do God. You don't honor.
That sounds religious to me.
The way you do God, right? That's about your relationship with God. That's what that commandment is, right? The first, I think it's the first 5 are about your relationship with God. The next ones are about your relationship with human beings.
But only the Jewish God or the Christian God, right? So it only applies if that's the God. Well, that's not other religions don't believe that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a belief, but
other people
have different beliefs.
Moral principles.
So just to be clear, you're saying the 10 commandments are flawed because of that first one saying you should have no other gods, but there's other religions with other gods?
I'm not making the claim they're flawed. I'm saying those would only apply to somebody that subscribed to that religion, that believed in that had a relationship to that particular deity.
Well, no.
I said 4 out of the 10 are moral statements.
If you were a Muslim, thou shalt not have no other gods before me would be a law you should follow too, right?
Yeah, but if you're none of those things, then those would not apply to you. They'd have no relevance to your life.
Well, maybe they should.
Well, that's just an opinion, though. Right now, they don't. Not here.
I mean,
yeah, but so that's not saying there's a flaw here, right? You just because
I didn't say that. I'm not making the flaw.
I know, that's effigy. Jeff, I'm talking to effigy when I say that.
Well, but I'm the one that asked the question.
It's also not saying it's a moral statement.
But he brought up the same thing you just did.
Well, you were asking me about the question I asked, but about what effigy brought up, and they're 2 different things. I'm just trying to keep them separate.
You guys are making the same point. It's just you do.
Who's morally harmed if I make a graven image?
Pardon?
Who's harmed? Who's morally harmed if I make a graven image?
If you make a graven image.
Yeah, if
who's morally harmed?
Yeah. Do you know what that is? Or if I misuse the name, if I say the name of God in vain, who's morally harmed? If I don't believe in your God.
Right. Just because you don't believe in it. So if you don't believe something that's true, does that mean it's not real?
For that,
if you don't believe
I don't believe that God is real.
If you don't believe I'm a real person, does that mean I'm not a real person?
And that works for almost anything except for something we completely disagree on whether or not it exists.
Right, but
so from my framework, it doesn't exist. So how am I harming anything?
Okay.
If a Hindu came up to you and said, "You by saying this harms my God," what would you say? Say again.
What harm are you doing what harm are you gonna have by not honoring other gods?
What harm am I going to do by not honoring them? I not honor them every moment of every day.
First of all, it takes time out of my day, so I harm myself by wasted time. I harm myself by compromise my integrity in something that I don't believe in. Instead of staying true to myself.
So you just honor yourself as God.
No, you asked how that would be harming somebody. So I guess
if it was just it would harm you to not honor other gods. It would harm.
It would harm my self-integrity to pretend to play along with something I didn't believe with. Same with the gender stuff. It would harm my fidelity to my sense of reality, to just play along with somebody else just because, just to not cause harm, harm to them, their version of harm.
To their version of harm, and your version of harm is that you wouldn't get to.
I don't believe in any of it, so I don't believe there is harm, but they believe I'm doing some kind of harm by not following these things. So if I play along with that, I would be harming my own integrity.
So you're wrong. They don't believe you're doing some type of physical harm to someone. You're sinning.
Well, you were using the word harm in your question, so I was going off of what you were saying. You were framing it as harm.
I asked you though, what harm does it do to you not to honor other gods?
I gave two. It wastes my time. That harms my time. It harms the use of my time that I could allot to other things, and it harms my self-integrity, my fidelity to my own self. I would have to pretend something I don't believe in. And I think staying true to what I do believe in is superior to pretending something I don't believe in. So it would harm me that way too.
Okay, so it go against what you believe, and then the other one was time. Honoring another god would take your time.
It would waste time. Yeah, that's time I could use to do other things.
Yeah, I mean you could say that's a negative for both, though, right? So it would just go against your beliefs. Okay.
Wasting time's an actual physical concrete thing. That's not even just a belief. The time it would take to honor a god, I could do something else more productive to my life.
No, that I asked you to not.
That's actually quantifiable. I could measure the amount of time it takes to honor a god, and then I could apply it to something else.
You're changing what I'm asking you. I didn't say to honor a god, not honor other gods. Do you understand the difference?
To not honor other gods?
Right.
I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm not going to let some rule I don't believe in tell me what to do at all. It harms my autonomy. That's what it harms. It harms my own sense of self-determination and autonomy. Well, I get to decide who I honor, not a book.
Well, yeah, I guess, but
yeah, he said, yeah, okay, the debate's over.
I'm saying I guess it goes against you being your autonomy, but so do laws, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And in the United States, honor these other guys is not one of our laws. So I honor the laws that I'm obligated to honor as a United States citizen. That's not one of them. We're not a theocracy.
So let me ask you a question, Easy. Do you think that people should be punished for thought crime, for thoughts they have in their head?
Should you be punished for thoughts you have in your head? No.
Yeah, not actions linked to that, just thoughts.
Let me think of this.
Like the maps, the pedophilia.
I want to think if there's any specific thing I can think of.
The pedophilia, the maps.
Oh, so you think, if someone wants to come out and start telling you that they think of having...
like they have the desire and the thought, but they don't act on it, but they still have it in their head.
So you're saying, like, if someone comes out and say, yeah, I have the desire in my head.
No, they don't even have to say. This could be a person who just has that thought. They've kept it quiet. They've never acted on it.
We can't punish people for something we don't know, so go ahead.
Are you talking about humans punishing each other?
Yeah, humans.
Not divine punishment. Okay, so let's, because some of them do. Some of them are feeling more free to come out now, so they are opening up about this. So let's assume it's a person that's opening up and admitting that they have this thought.
Yeah, so if you're coming out and saying that you have desires to sleep with children, yeah, you should be put in some type of institute. Yeah.
Even if you don't act on it, just having the desire.
Yeah, just some type of institute that, try to get the whatever different processes we have to try and.
They tried that with gay people.
These people, but most of the time it doesn't happen, doesn't work. So we should just keep them away from children at all costs.
That's
one
position.
The commandments of one in one instance, two in one in a different religion. Of thou shalt not covet, no matter which one it is essentially thought crime, right?
Yeah, that's God. That's way different. It's way different, right? God gives you duties. He also gives you forgiveness. So like what you're saying right now, these are thought crimes. It's a thought crime to me and you, right? But like God hears your thoughts no matter what. Like it's the same thing as talking for God. So like it's just it's not a thought crime. He just it's you as a person.
So the act of
It's just like
covenant.
no point arguing things. It's like you've got like this like Trump Yu-Gi-Oh card, and you're like, nah, because it's God, nothing applies to it. Nah.
No, well, no, I didn't say nothing applies.
It's still thought crime. Like you're still getting punished for having a thought. Like how is that in any way moral?
Yeah, because well, it's not about in any way moral. This is it's. Do you think it's immoral to have these thoughts about sleeping with children?
I think morality is more based in action and the interaction between us in the world. I don't think. I think we can classify morals as thoughts as good or bad, but I don't
think about sleeping with children. Is that really the road we want to go down?
Well,
right
maybe
now?
coveting is a good. Maybe
bad
we could take the
thoughts,
coveting
but-
thing. Use the coveting thing as an example.
Well, do you think it's immoral to want to fuck your buddy's wife?
Do I think it's
Do you think
immoral
we're in
to
control
want
of our
something?
desires and our thoughts?
Do you think it's immoral to imagine fucking your buddy's wife? Maybe going and jacking off to one of her pictures, thinking about her. Think that's immoral?
Immoral? No, I don't think that's immoral.
You don't think that's immoral?
No, I don't think that's immoral.
That's just That's just sexual fantasy.
Sad, dog. That's sad, bro.
Do you think you're in control of your desires?
Yes, I can control. I can control what I do with my hand and my dick, bro.
No, not what you do, what you
100%.
desire. What you want to do.
If I had an attraction to my buddy's wife, I would make sure I go out of my way to never put myself in situations where I'm even thinking about my buddy's wife. If she was a hot fuck, if my buddy was dating Margot Robbie, sorry, bro, we're not hanging around when your wife's around, so I don't even have any thoughts about your wife, okay? That's exactly how it is. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the right thing to do. That's admirable. But do you think having the thought itself is immoral?
I wouldn't go thinking about my buddy's wife jacking off. I gave you a specific situation. You said, do you think you can control?
Nope.
So yes, you can control that. You can make.
No, we're talking about two different things. I'm talking about the initial desire to sleep with the wife, not what you would do as a result of that, but the initial the want to do it in the first place. Do you think you're in control of that? And do you think that is immoral?
I said about thinking about doing it. I'm not talking about your emotional reaction, your biological.
I'm talking about the desire to. If we can't break down the components of what we're talking about, there's no point in trying to have this conversation. And I know that both of us can do this because I've seen us do it before. So I don't know what the difficulty is. I'm talking about the initial urge to sleep with your buddy's wife, and it just comes out of nowhere. You see her, she's hot, and this idea sparks into your mind. Do you think that is immoral and that you're in control of that?
No, I just said your biological response to the opposite
is
sex
not immoral.
Is not a no, right. I said thinking about your wife or your buddy's wife and thinking about fucking her over and over. This is fucked up to do. This is immoral as fuck.
But if you have the initial flash and you squash it and you don't feed it by thinking, then that itself is not immoral.
Yeah, no, that'd be a very Christian thing to do. Yeah.
Okay, that clears. Okay, that clears that up.
I mean, this is why I brought up earlier that's why it's easier for people to get what I'm talking about when I say, do you think imagining sleeping with children, do you think that's immoral? Right? I think everybody would be able to agree, yeah, this is fucking immoral.
I don't think they can control the initial desire.
Yeah, so I don't believe that.
I just don't think we're that in control of our sexuality. I know it from being gay. I know it from paraphilias. So, and they've tried. People have tried to change people's desires and sexualities and preferences. You can do like Pavlovian conditioning in certain cases, and that's about it. But that's kind of cruel and inhumane in and of itself.
I think people walk around every day having negative thoughts and they don't act upon them.
Yeah.
Sure.
And therefore, I judge morality more by action and less by thought. I'd say that there are thoughts that can lead to immorality, but I don't judge thoughts in that kind of way. I mean, you have limited control over them in the first place. You can't even argue really like a direct kind of harm in some senses. There, like I said, there are negative thoughts, and we can get into like intrusive things and stuff like that. But having a thought in itself, and just the fact that you can't directly control it. Now, in Easy's example, yeah, if you're having a pattern of behavior that would put you in a certain mindset, yeah, that could affect you in negative ways. But is someone doing that directly immoral? I don't know if I can say it is.
It sounds like there's a line between the part you're not in control of, and then actions you take from that point that could make it like exacerbate it or make it more under your control.
Yeah, like especially as men with testosterone running through us, like the initial seeing a hot chick and being like, "Ooh, I'd fuck her," like that's a biological response of a man. It's up to you to nip this shit in the bud and be like, "Hey, don't be like that."
Yeah, and I think most men do. For the most part, I think most men would in that situation could get it under control and not act on it.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I'm with you. And if I had a friend open up about that, I would definitely encourage them to not act on it. Like, reduce the amount of time you spend with them, find something to distract you, whatever. I would try to encourage that person to minimize the effect it was having on them.
Yeah.
But we judge people on action, though, right?
Yeah, and our legal system does too. At least so far.
Well, that's just the thing. If we judged everyone by their thoughts, we would have to judge them all by their grossest, most intrusive thoughts.
Some people are being judged by their unconscious biases, which sound like thoughts to me, unconscious thoughts.
And that's a problem, I think.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I do. I really do.
But to get back to the idea of the commandments, to me, coveting something, and while yes, it could be an idea of negatively wanting something too much, I'm not sure how that is immoral unless you like try to steal it. But it can cause negative behavior. But if you can fight against those wants, what's the problem? It's just another. And I get these are kind of rules for trying to get people to be better, sure, and we can agree to those kind of things. But to say that they're deep moral truths of the universe, it just doesn't fly. Like for me.
Well, maybe there is some wisdom there.
Is like to say.
Okay, I can find wisdom in a lot of things.
Well, that want is something that you struggle with emotionally and psychologically.
This is a guideline here, right? So if you every time you see you see your buddy's wife, you get this thought in your head every time, right? This is your you can be in control of this because first off, you don't even have to fucking look at her when you're around. If you go hang out with your buddy and she's around, don't look at her. Don't do everything in your fucking power to avoid these desires, right? You or just don't be around her at all, right? You wouldn't tell somebody who's like an ex-heroin junkie to go chill at the crack house, right? That would be stupid.
Yeah, I agree with you.
That's the problem. If you're constantly, we're all gonna do things that are wrong and against the commandments and the duties of God. This is we're born imperfect. We're not perfect beings, right? But the guidelines of all the ethics behind Christianity, nobody can seem to explain to me what is so wrong with it that it's
Well, what ethics specifically? Because a lot of them,
There's a plenty.
I think people do support. I don't know that. I do know that there's a strong Christian influence on our current morality. I just don't know which part of it's specifically Christian and which
I
is
think
not.
people pick and choose. People pick and choose which parts of the Christian ethics they want to abide by because
Well, what's one example of a
it's on a
specifically
pursuit of
Christian ethic?
their own
Like-
happiness.
Turn the other cheek, is that one that's specifically Christian?
Oh, yeah, this is definitely a Christian ethic. If you have to get the whole context around it, but yeah,
Because
like turn the other cheek doesn't mean be a bitch, right? A lot of people that's what they think, right? They think that like turn the other cheek means be a little bitch, but that's not what it is, right? Remember, Jesus fucking braided whips together and beat people out the church. So, I mean, this isn't.
And I would argue these continuous reinterpretations of religious are essentially because humans' moral reasoning and moral understanding grows as we grow as a species. And so these religions that are written in a much more archaic time have to continually reinvent themselves. Otherwise, they keep people stuck in the mud, which is we can evidence by different times in a lot of religions, and right now specifically with I think with Islam. So
I thought Islam was like improving itself or refining.
Islam is where we get the glut of mathematics from. Islam back in its heyday named the stars. It's where you get all like algebra from and stuff like that. So back in the day, sure, but it's become this other thing, and it's right now it seems like it's ripe for reformation as soon as
I guess that's what I was saying. I thought that the Reformation was well underway. Like there was a huge trend in Islam right
by
now.
Reformation you mean
Islam
they're about to have a
collapses
civil
on its
war
own
across the Middle
self.
East.
Islam collapses on its own self because in the Quran, they mention how Allah says there's only going to ever be one version of the Quran and Allah will protect this from ever changing. We've had like 10 different versions of the Quran, and they say even different things. They have different messages throughout it, right? You can say all these different interpretations of the Bible, blah, 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 blah. But guess what is the same in all of them? Jesus Christ came to die
really
for
not,
our sins. And if you accept Jesus Christ into your heart, you will be saved. Okay? That's the message in every one of them. It doesn't matter which interpretation you go look at. The main fucking message is the same. If you can take that, if you can show me a Bible without that, then I'll start having a little different conversation with you about
Old
contradictions and everything. But the Bible doesn't have these contradictions, and we can it's interpretation language differences is what you guys like to point out in the Bible, but the message is the same in every one of them.
But
the
what if you don't have
has
sin?
literally different messaging in every fucking one of them. So let's
So do you not admit that there have been different translations of things in the Bible?
Yes, there's been different interpretations,
No, translations
because of language, stuff like this. But the main message of what happened with Jesus Christ is the same in all of them. The main message: you accept Jesus Christ into your heart, and you work towards being the best Christian you can, and you will be saved. It's the same.
But what if you don't have sin? The message doesn't apply to you. You don't need saving from anything. You don't need Jesus. You're like, oh, thank you, Jesus, but I don't have a need for this. But I appreciate the offer.
Only babies before you understand accountability.
Well, no, I sin as a Christian concept, and as I'm not.
No,
Christian.
I
don't have the concept of sin. That's your concept that you're applying to me, just like systemic racism, whatever.
So you just think you don't do anything wrong?
No, I don't have sin.
You don't have sin.
The specific concept as defined in Christianity of sin. That's not the same thing as not ever doing things wrong.
Yeah, the moral act.
Isn't sin a specific thing in Christianity?
Yeah, an immoral act. That's what sin is.
But according to Christian morality.
Well, yeah, sure. According to God's morality.
And since I live in a secular country, it's not.
God.
well, you get from God, but that's not my God. So it doesn't apply to me.
Well,
That's
it
what
is
I'm
your
saying.
God. You just
If sin is a morality you get from God and it's not my God, then I don't have sin. Because I'm sure all these other weird gods from
think
these weird
you're
religions
God.
have moralities too that you're violating right now.
So
But if you don't believe in them, then it
so you
doesn't
think
apply to you.
Do you think nobody's immoral then? If
No, I'm
morals,
just talking about me. I'm only
okay,
talking
I
about
understand,
me.
Jeff, and you think you're without sin. So if morals are just fucking subjective, right? And your morals are based off what you feel, and my morals are based
You're
off.
attributing things to me I didn't say. I didn't say any of that. So there's no need to
No, here comes
continue
the
with
moral
it because
straw
I
man.
didn't say any of that. That's not anything that I said.
I'll say it. Morals are subjective. And us as a species is basically us trying to coalesce them into some kind of objectivity, i.e. something that we all agree with. But yeah,
Okay,
at the heart of it, it breaks down to
if
us individually.
morals are
So
just subjective, right? If morals are just subjective, right? I have mine, you have yours, Jeff has his. Then how can anybody be immoral, first off? Because it's just subjective. And why
because
do
we can all agree they are.
Wait, why are we punishing serial killers, rapists, murderers, child diddlers, all these people? Why are we punishing them if morals are just fucking subjective?
Because we all agreed to.
You keep switching from three categories: sin, moral, and law. Those are all three different things.
Sin is morals. Sin is based off of morals. Do you not
Sin is a religious concept. And the U.S. is a secular. Our legal system is secular. So right there's two different categories, at least two. And then there's a difference between legal and moral as well. So you have sin, you have moral. If they're the same thing, fine. Take those out completely. You're left with legal. If they're not the same thing, you have this category called moral that some people accept. That's not necessarily religious. So sin would be something separate from that, and you have legal. So that's at least three categories.
Right. If there are things that we can call sins that you call sins that I don't think have anything to do with morality, exactly what we were just talking about in the Ten Commandments, then whatever you call sins and then being moral, we disagree. So therefore, I don't consider sins to be just a by definition staple of morality.
Wait, hang on, real quick. We have Vigilante TV in the back. Anybody know them?
Yeah, Vigilante's been on my.
Yeah, I know. I've seen Vigilante.
They're okay.
He's cool, yeah.
All right, welcome, Vigilante.
Hello, I do apologize if you can hear any wind in the background. I am in my car.
Okay, no problem. You want to jump in, or Easy? You were saying something.
Actually, I was just going to ask, what sins do you disagree that there's sins?
All of the parts of the Ten Commandments that I don't believe are actual moral statements. And that's a good place to start. Like if I had no other God before him, if I did have another God, I don't think that's immoral. If I made a graven image, I don't think that's immoral. If I use God's name in vain, I don't think that's immoral. Like you might think they're moral, but that's because of your deontology. That's because of the rules you believe in. But I don't think that they're universal moral statements. If they were universal, they would apply to someone who doesn't believe in your God.
Okay,
right?
so
easily.
Because you don't believe in God, right? Those are the only reasons you disagree with those other ones. Tell me any of the things that are sins that don't have to do with believing in God.
Well, no, that's what I just said. The four that we can agree on, so that we can agree what kind of moral statements we all agree on, instead of just making statements and saying, well, my God said this was moral. You know, that's kind of the whole point, right? That's the whole point of like us arguing that morality is subjective. You're over here saying that a God made morality. I'm over here saying that we made morality, and we have to agree at some point. And that's how we end up with like things like laws and rights, because we've agreed on enough to actually build a civilization on it.
So again, besides the ones that you would have to believe in God to know it's a sin, because obviously you don't believe in God.
If my father and mother were serial killers,
you don't let me finish ever.
No, I know your question. I'm answering your question right now.
Yeah.
Answer your question right now. If my father and mother were serial killing rapists, would I be sinning not to honor them?
That wasn't my question, but whatever.
Thought crime on number 10, like I said, like we've been over all the ones that I don't think they're sins. If we're talking about sins are morality.
Yeah, so the thing you're referring to, that's in the case of your parents honoring God, which would mean they follow not being serial fucking killers, right?
So it's not a universal rule then. It already has a caveat. Where you don't have to use it.
Yes, it's a universal rule to follow God, right? So if your parents follow God, it's saying to follow your parents. What do you mean?
That's not universal for everyone here in the United States in 2024. Following God is not universal.
Yeah, and this falls into the big breakdown that got into that big discussion the other day. It seems like if you don't actually believe or follow their God, then it seems to be completely fine to have a completely subjective morality on what you can do to them, right?
Well, you have a subjective morality. I don't.
I mean, I agree that we have a subjective morality.
No. You have a subjective morality. I don't. My morals stay the same no matter what situation I'm in. Yours
Unless
don't.
God
They
says
could
so, right?
still be subjective.
Unless God
No,
changes
it wouldn't
morality, right?
still be subjective.
Yeah,
Your
moral
caveat-
subjectivity
your
and
moral-
consistency are two different axes. They're not the same
morals
categories.
change based on the situation you're in. That's subjective.
Hang on, real quick. Vigilante, you're coming in kind of muffled. If you're talking. All right.
He's coming to us from the middle of a tornado.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, Jack. There. Oh, is there a tornado?
No, I was just saying it sounds
Because they do. They have that hurricane coming to Florida.
barely a
maybe
tropical
it's better now
storm.
that I've posted my
Okay,
intelligence.
I'm gonna run
I'm
to
not
the
sure what
washroom quick.
these-
I'm gonna run to the washroom quick while Vigilante gets whatever he wants out there.
Okay, sounds
I'm
good.
just gonna say what I'm saying here. The fact that your moral system will switch based on the situation that you're in. So something around you will affect how you feel about morals. That shows you have subjective morals. Me, I understand what's immoral no matter what situation I'm in. It's all the same. It's
Or
always
you think you do?
immoral.
Because you can't
Always.
anticipate every single situation.
Everybody uses situational ethics. Everybody.
All right, I'm back. So, I wanted to say too earlier, when your friend there, Jeff, got mad at me because I was trying to explain. I was trying to ask her, what does it violate? Like, how is it?
Are you talking about Amanda? Oh, I don't even know her. This was her first time on the panel. But yeah, I remember
Yeah, like
the conversation.
You triggered the shit out of her.
When it says, like when she said that it violates the separation of church and state, like I was trying to ask her why she thinks that, because it actually doesn't, right?
The Ten Commandments law? It does.
It
Or,
definitely
does.
or I expect them to find that it does.
No,
to me, it's pretty clear-cut case of doing
It's
so.
not. It's not that easy. So first off, I don't know if you realize this: 17 states have allowed or mandated that it puts "In God We Trust" on the classroom walls. Okay. First off, "In God We Trust" is also written on your fucking money.
But has
There's
that
a reason
Hold
for
up,
that.
hold- Animated, can you let me get one fucking through one thing, motherfucker? Like, holy animated.
But in fairness, easy, it's not always one thing. Sometimes you load a whole series in there. So
motherfucker.
All right, I'm quick draw. My bad.
Dickhead. And the simply putting the commandments on walls actually doesn't violate nothing at all, because like teachers could literally use
you're not the judge.
Use this document. Yes, listen, they could.
We
use
have
this
courts that will
document
decide this,
just
regardless
like
of what you
use the
think.
Declaration of Independence or the Magna Carta, just to Carta to teach the historical impact that the Ten Commandments has had on society. The hanging the Ten Commandments on walls doesn't violate fuck all. It's not saying that it's taught as a moral code. It's just saying to put it up on the wall. So it doesn't violate anything. That's what I was trying to get
Well,
at.
that's your opinion. Since it hasn't been tried yet, we don't know the outcome. I fully expect it to be shot down.
I don't
So,
think it
but
will.
thank you for telling us how you think the case is going to go. I disagree.
Well, that's the law is not to that you can't hang the 10 commandments anywhere. That's not what it's not to be taught. It's not to be put on a pedestal. So again, just having it hanging in the classroom the same way. Why don't you guys all go fight those 17 states that have "In God We Trust"? Why don't y'all go burn up all your money that says "In God
Here,
We
let
Trust"?
me answer you on the "In God We Trust."
Okay.
During the 50s, "In God We Trust" was made the official motto. It replaced "E pluribus unum" from many one during the Red Scare because people were wanting to fucking virtue signal that we were religious over here. So they replaced the official motto of the United States with "In God We Trust" and added "under God" to the Pledge of Allegiance. And that's why, because it is an official United States thing that they can put that on things like our money, right? I don't like it. I don't want it, but it is the official U.S. motto. So that's why they can put it on different things.
Okay. Why don't you guys fight this though?
We try.
Some atheists have. Some atheists do. I don't fight it because I don't care enough about it. I don't care if God's on my money.
The original motto is so much better.
Yeah, I like it too. I think it's more reflective of our origins too.
"In God We Trust" is literally the American motto. I think having the 10 commandments on the fucking walls in the classroom shouldn't be too far off. Like, come on.
Well,
now.
that was added
you've
in the
registered your
1950s,
opinion,
like-
but you're not the final authority. And I can
No,
guarantee
I know
you
that.
one thing: even if the 10 Commandments get to stay, the satanic tenets are going up. The 11 laws of the Church of Satan are going up, and all kind of other religious stuff is
doubt
going
it.
up too, because they absolutely cannot allow one and refuse the others.
Yeah.
Why they can't? Why can't they?
Because that's the precedent set in the United States. That's
Yeah.
what the whole statute things and Ten
Again,
Commandments statutes have done.
they're not doing it as a moral code. They're literally just hanging it up in the classrooms. There's nothing you can do about it. It's
Easy. I'm sorry, you're wrong
little
here, and you simply don't know what you're talking about.
okay. Well, wait a minute.
I live in the
Mine was-
U.S. I know how our separated
Here
church
we
and
go.
state
I
works.
live in the
And
US.
if you don't believe me, you can look up every single case that the Satanic Temple has filed. And every single one that they've won, and you can watch the same principle at work in every single one of these cases. If you don't believe me and you want to do your own research, that's a very easy way to start. Wikipedia probably has a page on just the cases that Satanic Temple alone has won in this area.
Still Spurgeon.
Hope that helps. Hope that helps.
Yes.
Okay, you can't come on my panel and tell me not to spurg. That's ableist and not going to happen.
Did he just kick off?